So Army Piper, it's wonderful to have you on the channel. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me on.
So Army Piper, just before we get started, I know you and many of the viewers will know you, but for the newcomers, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a lover of my dog, and in my hobby time, I do content creation for a network of 5 different shows and DJ and trade crypto at every turn to pretty much add to my investment portfolio. That's what I do. Read the markets, read the economy. I read a lot, but overall, I'm just a guy trying to fill his time and make some money and educate as many people as I can. So.
Awesome. So just before we get into your crypto story, if I was to meet you in high school, what kind of person were you?
In high school,
You're
I,
American.
yeah, I was kind of the nerd. I didn't do well in school. I did great on testing. I would get straight A's on my test, but in school, as far as like I never did homework. I thought it was a waste of time to grind through to prove what I know. Just give me the test. So yeah, I did not do very well in high school at all. So
Okay, awesome. So your brand, obviously, your name's Army Piper. I suppose after you finished school, you went into the army. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
actually, no. I joined the army at 29. For many years, I was a managing partner in restaurants and nightclubs. I ran promotions. I was a DJ, a master of ceremonies. I used to be the guy up there going, "It's a good time partying Friday night right here at the only place to be on the East Side." That was me. So talking to people and being on a microphone in front of a camera, talking publicly was never an issue for me. 29 is when I joined the army right after 9/11. I was a 9/11 recruit, and I did 22 and a half years in the United States Army.
So, from my understanding, you got into crypto in 2020. Now, 2020 was a very difficult year for crypto. We had COVID everywhere. We had one of the biggest corrections in COVID history in March 2020, where we fell from 9,000 to 3,000. It was a very difficult time. Now, you got into crypto in COVID. How did you first get into crypto, and what was your first experience like?
So COVID for me was a weird time because I was just arriving to a new duty station, and they had locked down all the people that were supposed to be leaving. So the people I was replacing were supposed to go on to their next duty station. And because of COVID, they locked down they stop move is what they call it in the military. They did a stop move. And so nobody was able to leave. So when I got here, they were like, "How did you get here?" First of all, nobody was supposed to leave. I took 30 days of leave. So I had a lot of travel time. So when I left my last duty station, there was no COVID pandemic. When I went to sign into my new duty station, there was a COVID pandemic. So they said, "Look, we're going to do a rapid uh, uh, in processing for you here at the base." I'm in Fort Bliss, Texas. I was in Fort Bliss, Texas, here in El Paso, Texas. Did a 1 day sign in, and then I said, "We'll call you when we figure out what unit you're going to," because nobody left at the time. I was a master sergeant. I had just left the first sergeant position. For those that don't know, in the crypto and investing world, that's an E8. It's the only rank above that is sergeant major on the enlisted side. So I was pretty high ranking, not a lot of those positions on the base, and didn't really have a job. So I ended up on telework, doing like a daily report for the commander, like for 9 months. So I had 9 months of no job while working a job because of COVID. So I picked up said I got to figure out something to do. My wife is also retired army, and at the time she deployed to the Middle East, so I had no wife around. It was me, my stepfather. I was taking care of him, and my adult son. I said, "You're doing college, you're going to watch old westerns, and I'm going to learn something." So what I learned was I wanted to get into making some money. I didn't really ever invest much. I did some TSP and stuff like that, thrift savings plan, which is a lot like a 401k for the federal government. But I had not really ever gotten into, what is this this chart that people are always showing on screens, right? So I decided I was going to do some deep dive into it. I discovered that crypto was a very, very fast mover in comparison to the stock world. I do have a lot of stocks in my current investment portfolio, but I learned that if you really want to make the money and you're willing to be courageous and take the risk, crypto is where to get into that. Oddly, my first learning curve was I picked the wrong crypto, or I picked the right one and didn't believe it. I bought Doge first. That was the first crypto I bought on Robinhood. I bought Doge, and then when I realized that, oh, this is a meme coin, I get it. I understand now. I started looking at Bitcoin, Ethereum, things like that, Cardano at the time. And so I started to reallocate out of Doge into those. Uh, Sadly enough, if I had just held the Doge that I had originally bought, it would have been like $4.7 million that year. But hey, whatever. We all learn on that hindsight is 2020, right? We can see perfectly clear looking back. But yeah, that was how I got into it. I called my wife up and said, "Hey, I'm gonna buy some crypto," and she's like, "Buy what?" I said, "Crypto. It's blockchain. It's fintech. It's the future." And I had done a lot of research. One of the skill sets that I brought to this journey was my job in the Army. I was an all source intelligence analyst. And so my job was to deep dive research, collect data, analyze and aggregate this information based on historical patterns, historical trends, so on and so forth, to predict what the enemy was going to do next. My job was to find the bad guy, right? And so it translated very easily over into technical analysis, data research, deep dive research, and it worked very well. So now instead of targeting bad guys, I target prices, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, COVID-19, very bad time for the world, very good time for my level of knowledge in the investing world. I picked up a ton during that period. So
Okay, awesome. So you were not worried that the world was going to end and COVID was going to go down to zero?
no, no, this happens all the time. This happens all the time. If you look at anything, what gave me the okay, I believe this is that Bitcoin at the time was coming up on being a 10-year-old technology. There is a tech theory out there, and I can't recall the name off the top of my head right now, but it basically says if a technology makes it past a decade and is still relevant, then it's usually not going anywhere, and people will continue to build upon it. And Bitcoin was pretty much at that threshold at the time. It had been it was getting close to being a 10-year-old technology, or had just broke the cusp of that. And I said, look, blockchain, I understand it. I understand what digital gold is and the quote unquote Bitcoin world, right? And Ethereum being digital fuel. It is the internet. It's the energy behind blockchain, and now we have many other layer ones that do the same thing as Ethereum. So no, I believed in fintech. When people said, "What did you invest in?" I would tell them I'm invested in future financial technology, and they would just be like, What is that?" "Oh, it's crypto." "Oh, crypto," because there's this stigma for crypto, right? But in reality, it really is. If you take away, the 95% of the meme coin world, there is a core of utility in crypto that is absolutely relevant in the future of the financial industry. We hear all the time, Larry Fink from BlackRock talking about tokenized assets. I think that a time will come that the stock market and Wall Street will be operating completely on blockchain with tokenized shares. You want to buy a share of Tesla stock, you buy a token of TSLA, right? I think that time will come, and then those days of the ticket passing and all this stuff that goes on the floor of Wall Street will just be done quietly in a computer, but on the blockchain on smart contracts, and nobody will ever know that anything had changed on the outside as a end user, but on the inside, it's all going to be very fast, very automated, and 24/7 stock world. There's actually an exchange being built in Dallas right now that is going to be. They got some BlackRock investment money and everything else, but they're going to be a tokenized stock market. So there's a new stock market in New York Stock Exchange. There's going to be the Dallas Stock Exchange or the Texas Stock Exchange that they're working on. I'm not sure the launch on that. I think it might be like 3 or 4 years away, but there's a completely tokenized stock market coming to Dallas that's all on the blockchain. So when you look at it from that perspective, don't be afraid of new technology. You know, there was a time that people were afraid of cell phones. There were a time that people were afraid of cars, microwaves, all that stuff, right? It's technology. And when you look at it from a financial technology perspective, then it makes a lot of sense why you're getting in at the days Amazon is selling books, right? That's where we are right now with crypto, in my opinion.
Yeah. So when you first got in, who helped you? What help and support did you have?
Well, I was COVID lockdown, so not a lot of support. My stepfather that I said that I was taking care of, he was high risk. He was elderly and he had COPD and all kinds of health issues. So I couldn't really go anywhere. My tech support, my support in learning all of this was a lot of other YouTubers. And I really had to credit a lot to Digital Asset News, Rob Wolf. He actually lives in El Paso, but I watched a lot of his stuff. One of the guys that I met at a meet and greet later on towards the end of the COVID lockdown. I went to a meet and greet here in El Paso with Rob from Digital Assets News, and I met Crux of Crypto over there. His name's Stefan, good buddy of mine. Our dogs still get together and play on Saturdays, right? But no, he was somebody I could pick up the phone when we had another resurgence of cases here in the city. I was able to call him up, and we talked a lot about a lot of stuff also. So as far as learning, a lot of it honestly was just diving into thousands of hours of videos. Investopedia, I read so much on Investopedia, it was insane. Learned about Fibonacci's. I'm a Fibonacci trader. You can actually see Fibonacci lines right there running across my screen. I trade fibs, right? And then I use Confluence from other indicator algos and stuff on it. But it was a lot to learn. It's not uncommon for me when my wife goes away for me to deep dive down rabbit holes and try to fill my brain with stuff. The last time she had done that, I actually wrote the Army's active shooter program for active shooter response. During my downtime while she was gone and deployed, which is now the standard program for the Army. So this time I learned crypto, little something personal. This is not for everyone else. I'm going to learn about crypto. I'm going to learn about technical analysis, and I'm going to see how I can get into making some more money for my future. And that's pretty much what I did there. But a lot of it, yeah, some videos to lead me in the right direction, but most of it was just let me sit here and learn. I've got to learn this. And the more I understand it, the more that I will be able to apply that to understanding what is to come.
So after 2020, we went up into the 2021 bull run. So we went pretty much straight up, and then we peaked in April 2021, and that was the first peak. And then we went down and we had a double top, and the actual top was in November 2021.
Mm-hmm.
That was your first bull run. That was a very, very difficult bull run. Were you aware that there was a possibility of a double top, and how did you navigate all of that?
So 2021 was interesting because at the time, indicators on that first peak that we had in 2021, we had a Pi cycle top indication that said that's the top. We had the RSI topped out very high on the monthly and started dropping. And if you actually go and look at that chart, I can pull that up behind me here. You'll be able to see it over my shoulder. But if we actually look at this here on the monthly and go back and look at that period, we started a drop down right there. And that's where we dropped down at that first peak. It never really actually made a resurgence back up for that second peak. So there was a lot of weakness going on. The Pi cycle top indication was a big one for us. And then to see the RSI not really make a resurgence back up again, it told us pretty much that this run was over. I actually consider the second peak that hit in November 2021 to be an over-exaggerated dead cat bounce because the market was pretty much spent on the first peak of that cycle. Now, when we came back up to make that second run, and I saw that we were starting in lower time frame, starting to get some more strength coming back into the market, I actually entered into an Ethereum long trade, 15x. at the bottom of the cycle of that summer dip. And sadly enough, I was holding it, waiting for that $100,000 Bitcoin, right? Oh my goodness, it's picking back up again. We are going to do $100,000 Bitcoin. I entered into that Ethereum long. It was up it well close to $1 million profit trade, and I let it ride all the way back down to about $1,000 profit because I was waiting for $100,000 Bitcoin. So that's what I learned in that cycle. There's two things made on any trade or any investment. You either make gains or you make experience, right? That one was an experience for me. So, yeah, I rode that back down. As far as my Ethereum, I had a ton of Ethereum at the time. I staked, all of that was staked. And so I couldn't really move it out. So, I rode the top up to the bottom and decided that that was not happening this cycle. So, this cycle, approaching it a little bit different for sure. But, I was able to navigate that bear market piece, which I'm sure you're going to go into. But I was able to navigate the bear market much better than the bull run for sure. So,
Okay, awesome. So you're not just an investor, you're a trader as well, and there's a massive difference between investing and trading. So I'm
yeah.
both as well, and predominantly I started off as an investor. I'm starting to trade now as well. So how do you see the differences between investing and trading? Which do you prefer?
So honestly, I prefer investing because that one's just a long term. You put your money in, you identify the bottoms of the markets, which I've gotten very good at. I was buying Bitcoin at $18,000 to $20,000 because one indicator said it's time to buy, right? And so I got a video coming out on that soon. So investing much easier, right? Dollar cost averaging has never ever lost on any asset. It's a matter of time, right? Not timing, but time in the market, right? So, investing is the easier one. Which one do I enjoy more? I'm an adrenaline junkie. Hence, 22 years in the United States Army, 4 combat tours. I like the trading. It's exciting. I love to try to pit myself against the bots, against the smart money on Wall Street that are all trading this stuff, right? And I do pretty decent at it, in my opinion. So I'm really good friends with Alex O'Crypto. You previously interviewed him on here, good friend of mine. So shout out to him. But yeah, he and I, we see eye to eye on a lot of approaches to investing and trading. My investment portfolio cares if the market goes down. The trader side of my brain doesn't care if it goes up or down. We're going to make money either way.
So how did you develop your own trading strategy? Is it a mixture of technical and fundamental analysis because you do investing as well?
Yeah, so firstly, I would say I'm a macro analyst. I follow everything on the economy. If you watch my morning show, the morning market report, every day I talk about here's where the markets are at. Here is your like right now I'm watching CNBC over here. I'm watching the Nasdaq, the S&P, and the Dow Jones because they are institutional indicators, right, of the sentiment of the market. That all at the end of the day, all of this is based on speculation and sentiment. So you have to have that insight from the macroeconomic events, the PPIs, your producer prices indexes, your consumer price inflation, your PCE, the biggest indicator that the Federal Reserve looks at. Understanding how all of these things affect the sentiment of investors, and then also your labor market strengths and weaknesses, like are non-farm payrolls coming in high, are they coming in low? Those will all give you a factor. No matter what you see on a chart, I could have the most beautiful setup for upside movement on a chart, all the indicators fired, we got support, confirmation, retest, it's support, we're heading up, and in one piece of macro data can just send everything to the downside. So you got to be watching that stuff too, and be aware of it. So I would say first I'm a macro analyst, then I'm a fundamental analyst, and then I'm a technical analyst. So I put a sprinkle of all of that, and I understand that each of them have a weighted vote on how that price is going to play out. So
Okay, so with the stock market and all the other financial markets, did you get into them after 2020? How did you manage that? You've done crypto, you've done all the stock market. That's a
Yeah,
lot.
so I got into stocks after crypto.
Okay.
I got into crypto first because I was looking for the fast mover, right? That what do we do with that? In the military, we take out the fast mover first. That right? That's the one that we got to. It can get to us quicker, right? So I went with fast mover. I went with crypto first. The stocks came after I. So I did an internship. When you're leaving the military, the last 6 months in the military, you can do something that's called a skill bridge. And so that is a internship program to help service members transition out of military service into the civilian sector. I didn't want to go do a job. I knew that when I got out of the military, I was going to trade, and that was it. That was all I was going to do. What's your retirement plan? I'm going to trade. Do you realize how much money the military is going to pay you for your retirement? It's not a lot. Yep, track and all. Got it. So when I retired and I told them I was going to go trade, that I was going to be a trader, it made sense that I did my internship with a company called Chart Prime. Chart Prime is an algorithmic indicator company. They specialize in developing code for TradingView using an algorithm and the best developer in code out there for TradingView, in my opinion. So I did my internship with them. For my last few months in the military. And during that time, I realized that these indicators that I was trading with, keep in mind, I retired in 2023. So this is way past, the 2020 pandemic. I was trading the whole time I was in the military. When I got there and started using those indicators, I realized that the lack of high volatility on stocks, Chart Prime was even more accurate on with the stocks than what it was on crypto. And I had already pulled in, an $80,000 successful gains in the bear market using these indicators for crypto. So yeah, I started to move into stocks and identified some trends that matched up to the crypto cycle. So I was buying MicroStrategies, CleanSpark, Marathon Digital, all of these mining companies in January of this year. And if you go back and look at the numbers on that, parabolic run-ups this year on most of those. CleanSpark and Marathon did have some pullback later in the year. I took profits on those, rolled it over into MicroStrategy X, which is a 2x long MicroStrategy stock, and then doubled up my money pretty much on MicroStrategy. So very, very very reverse cycle to the norm. Most people get into stocks and then move into crypto. I went into crypto first and then moved into stocks when I realized how good the indicators that I was using and how good technical analysis works on the stocks without the lack of volatility. So much bigger market cap, much smaller moves. So
Okay, so let's talk about 2022. So after we had the November 2021 top, we slid into a bear market. Were you aware of the difference between a bull market and a bear market, and how did you position your portfolio and change your trading strategies?
Well, I couldn't do much with my portfolio because it was staked. For those that don't know what that means it's locked up, right? So my Ethereum was locked up for the Ethereum 2.0 when it was moving from proof of work to proof of stake. So I couldn't really do much with my portfolio, but I had prepared when I had actually started preparing when I saw the Pi cycle top in 2021 and said, okay, I need to start putting some money back to buy bear market bottoms because Ethereum proof of stake build up not going to happen anytime soon. They talked about it's going to be 6 months, and it was a year, 2 years, 3 years later, right? So I started to save up some cash when we saw lower lows. I understood what a bear market was easily. It's a trend of lower lows, lower highs, right? When you see the trend shift, you have to shift mentality. I said, okay, we're in a bear market. I knew that by about March of 2022. I was like, we're heading into a bear market. So I waited for a nice rally, what we call the suckers rally, right? It gets everyone excited because they think it's going back up again. And I started to dollar cost average some entries on Bitcoin for shorts. I was dollar cost averaging 2 to 3x leverage shorts on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and I think it was Polygon Matic at the time. And I was started shorting those once they pumped up, I said, here's a high. Let's get in and start shorting here. And I dollar cost average, meaning I added to the leverage account as it was going down. So yes, it was lowering my average, but I was adding momentum, snowball effect, right? And so I ended up shorting almost the entire bear market. I did get out when I saw that we were hitting around previous highs, and then the FTX event occurred, which sent it even lower. And so I started a short immediately on the FTX, Three Arrows Capital, Alameda Research collapse there from their over leverage exposure, and then shorted that to the bottom. Started getting indications. Okay, here's your bottoms on one of the chart prime indicators, and then that was it. I had 9 months of 10% in every month from all of the profit that I had made on 2 and 3x leverage short for the entire bear cycle drop. The crypto winter was very warm and cuddly for me, and then when I got that, I had the indicator popped 9 months in a row. I was 90% in because I did 10% monthly of my account. The final month I didn't have the indicator, flushed the rest of it in 100%. It was in, and I had an average entry on Bitcoin in my other cryptos when Bitcoin was at the price of about $21,300, and I rode that all up the cycle to the upside. March 2024, which you'll get into, that's a different story. I made a couple small mistakes because nobody's perfect, but yeah, overall made a lot of money in the bear market, set it up perfectly to make a lot more in the bull run. So
How was that? How was it that you were able to succeed where almost everybody else failed? What were you doing differently?
well, I didn't succeed completely. I mean, I did ride an Ethereum trade all the way up and all the way back down in the bull run because I was waiting for $100,000 Bitcoin. But as far as the downside, I took the risk. I took the initial risk when I saw the trend changed. Um, the trends are friend to the end. We hear that all the time, right? But everyone wants to ignore the trend because of belief. The trend told me, hey, this is a lower low. We just now made a lower high. You might want to enter here. And that's what I did. So
We got to November 2022 and Bitcoin hit about 15K. That was the bear market bottom. And then after that, we went up into another bull market. We've had a lot of bullish news. How did you navigate between the bear market and the bull market this time coming up?
So as I was saying, I had an indicator that was telling me this is the market bottom. I've got it up right here behind me over my shoulder, but this is one of the indicators, the indicator that I use to identify the bottom. And this is looking historically at Bitcoin here. You can see this area right here where these bright green candles are right there. That was the bottom of the cycle back in 2015. We go to the cycle in 2019 here, and you can see we had 2 months of those bright green candles. So you would have got 20% in on these 2 months right there. You would have got 20% in there, and then you would have put the rest in when there was no more green candles. That would have been the bottom of that entire cycle. And if you take a look at last cycle, this was where I was talking about that I had 9 months of dollar cost averaging in. That gave me that average because when we started into the green here, that first green candle popped on July 2022. And so I was able to buy there 10% in every candle every month. And I was 90% in by the end of it. And my entire average during that time was bought in this period between here and there. So including all the bottoms. So each one of these pink candles there, I was buying the bottom of that. So I've got the entire bottom of the cycle all off of this one indicator, and it's been 100% accurate every cycle. So Chart Prime for the win. That's why I am such a strong believer in Chart Prime on my channel over there. So
do you focus on any specific types of coins or specific narratives? What are you currently buying at the moment?
I'm in SWI. I'm a big. I like SWI a lot. I'm in Chainlink. I've got a little bit of Solana still. I took a lot of profit off of Solana. I've got some ADA, a lot of Ethereum, and primarily Bitcoin. I got a lot of Bitcoin. And then, of course, on the stock side, I've got Clean Spark again. I started buying it back at the bottom. I got some Iris Energy, which is called IREN. It's a stock, Tesla, and then MicroStrategies, a lot of MicroStrategies. I'm very bullish on what's coming for MicroStrategy next 3 days from now. A lot of people don't realize this. They keep talking about that MicroStrategy is leveraged Bitcoin. Why take that risk when you can just buy Bitcoin? But what a lot of people don't understand is the FASB. And this is why I talk about the fundamental and macroeconomics is my big thing. FASB, they are the board that writes the policy and regulates how corporations have to report their earnings and their investments. And so, if, say, for example, we'll use CryptoPrincess.inc and decide that she's going to buy Bitcoin when it was $50,000, and she buys one Bitcoin. If Bitcoin went to $25,000, Crypto Princess now has to report a $25,000 loss, a 50% loss on her corporate investments for her books, which means to her shareholders, I lost your money, right? On the flip side of that is that if it went from $50,000 to $100,000, Crypto Princess is not authorized to show that she made gains until she sells that Bitcoin, which means if you're a corporation that hodls Bitcoin, you don't get to show any investment, but you have to show, or you don't get to show any gains, profits, but you have to show your losses, which means that MicroStrategy's, all of its years of collecting Bitcoin, has had to show every single drawdown that they've had, but they've never been able to show how much they have increased in valuation of the company because the FASB denies that ability. The regulation does not permit it. December 15th, the new policy goes into effect where a company can update through it's not a direct posting of how much they made in their gains, but there is a way to derive that information for smart money investor world out there that this company has made an investment that has gained this much in profit. So on December 15th, when the FASB policy gets updated, MicroStrategies is going to have a speculative amount of about $46 per share growth immediately, and then the long term, obviously, we'll see some movement off of that. But the companies, that's why you're starting to see Amazon talking about a 5% investment into it. You've got Microsoft that just denied it. They had like a 0.55% voting rate on it. Bunch of boomers over there at Microsoft. But I do believe that we're going to see other companies start to put their money into the crypto, into Bitcoin, so that they can show those gains, because now that it's advantageous for them to show that they made profits without having to sell their Bitcoin, I think it's going to be a game changer for Bitcoin in the future. And so following that, that's why I'm in MicroStrategies. I think that MicroStrategies got a very big boom to their valuation and speculation coming up with the FASB policy change effective December 15th. So there you go. Heard it here first.
So how do you feel about the ETFs, institutions coming, governments? We've got the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, America talking about it. There's rumors that Russia wants to have a Bitcoin reserve as well. How do you feel about all these institutions and governments buying up the supply for Bitcoin?
I'm mixed on it, and here's the reason that I'm mixed on it. One, we've talked about that. This is what we wanted the whole time, right? We wanted institutional adoption, right? This is what institutional adoption looks like. And that's the sad reality of it. It is a lot more exposure, yet 401ks can now buy it, especially with MicroStrategies moving into the QQQ. That is a indirect, but yet, direct line to Bitcoin. And really, it's a Bitcoin play. It's a narrative play for Bitcoin. So it being on the QQQ, the ETFs given exposure to the retirement funds, pension funds, so on and so forth. It's a lot more money coming in. You look at the total assets under management of these big companies, and getting a 2% even of the trillions of dollars that they manage is a lot of money coming into Bitcoin. So I like it from that perspective. My issue with it is, as of right now, you've got the ETFs controlling about 5% of the total Bitcoin supply. MicroStrategies itself controls 2%. At some point, you're going to have these massive companies, to include major conglomerate, major monopolies of the mining companies. Don't forget that. That could easily have a 51% control on Bitcoin. I think it's a matter, though, of them appreciating what Bitcoin is more than trying to dilute what Bitcoin could be. If they go, hey, we'd like to add more tokens because the supply is so short, they know that it's going to affect their massive holdings that they have. So I think at the end of the day, as long as it's the smartest people that are controlling it, will be okay. But there is a downfall to it. Decentralization starts to fade as institutionalized money comes in, and this is what we wanted. We wanted institutionalized adoption. This is what that looks like.
So we're at the end of 2024 now. How has the year 2024 been in crypto for you?
I think that the price is very suppressed on Bitcoin. I think that there's been a lot of manipulation on some tokens. I think Solana was very manipulated to the upside. If you look at their wallet count, there's a lot of empty wallets. They talk about millions of wallets on Solana, but a lot of them hold zero Solana. There's some reasons behind that because you have to have Solana wallets for this project or this project, right? There's a lot of things that require you to at least have a wallet, right? So there's a lot of reasons for some of those out there, but I think there's a lot of I think there was a lot of manipulation to bring Solana's price up. I think Solana's a good project. I just don't think it's as good as what the price hit on it. Other things out there like Cardano. Cardano is one of the most solid projects out there in the space, in my opinion. The Cardano project, its network, its environment, its ecosystem is phenomenal. It never really took off until recently when Trump said US based projects are not going to have capital gains. And then Cardano. Unfortunately, a lot of people, myself included, may have taken some money out of that wallet thinking that there were faster movers and did not have that exposure at the takeoff. So, like I said, I'm not perfect. I don't call it all right. I did leave some of it in there, but I took about half of my portfolio out and put it into other projects, which have done well too. But I would have liked to have had it originally in Cardano. I do like the Cardano ecosystem. So, Bitcoin itself, I think that Bitcoin is setting up for a very weird 2025. That's what I think. We broke the all-time high before the halving. That's one thing that's different this cycle. We had a pretty decent pullback from that level. All the way back down to around, the September, October window where we started to come back up again, which sets us up on, hey, from looking at the time that we break all-time highs of previous cycles, it's about 322 days, 308 to 350, 322 average, from the time that we break previous all-time highs to the next peak. Every cycle has been that way. And when we look at that, that would put us at the Q1 mark for the end of the cycle in 2025. That's not normal. We typically go to end of Q3, Q4 time period, right? So we do have something a little bit different there. I think that's going to be a different cycle. We're going to people got this 4-year cycle repeats. This year, not so much. Things have changed. Look at that from the perspective that this ETF money came in on Bitcoin early and that it pumped up and created this anomaly in the calculation of cycles, right? Now, if you take that noise out and go, well, this was ETF money inflow that caused us to break earlier, and we technically had a hype by the news, buy the rumors, sell the news, right? And then it pulled back since January time period. And now the recent break that we hit again, coming back up from that $50,000, $48,000 bottom we had here earlier in the year, that would be putting us in line with Q4. So as of right now, we've got a change of the 4-year cycle, but 2025 could be setting up for a Q1 peak and then a Q4 second peak. Does that sound familiar? It looks a lot like 2021. So we got a couple of scenarios there that I'm watching very closely on how they play out. And it's going to be an interesting time. Now, here's a scenario for you. I'm gonna get one for you, Crypto Princess. What if we get that peak in 2021 or 2026, 2025 Q1, right? That would be in line with the 322-day average from the first cycle high that we broke in March 2024. We get a pullback in the summer like we saw in 2021, Q1 sell-off, because a lot of people are calling that out there. And so self-fulfilling prophecy. We get the sell-off. Then we rebound to the typical quarter four. And it goes from there, bleeding over late 2025 into 2026. The first 100 days of the presidency, which will be in January 2025, the first 100 days establishes regulation and policy. That would be that catalyst that picks us back up in the summer and sends us on. That also unlocks through regulation, because there's companies out there that said they will not do anything with Bitcoin until there's better established regulation. A change of SEC policy director, a change in regulation, changes in policies, more adoption starts to give another boost into more institutional money again when the cycle market of the bear cycle is typically beginning. We could be setting up what we see in 2026 and beyond as a super cycle for Bitcoin. So 2025 going to be very interesting, very interesting. So my question for you, do you think we get a super cycle, Crypto Princess?
If I'm completely honest, I don't know. I think we're going to be following the 4-year cycle. But you're not the first person. You're not my first guest to say that we're going to get a double peak and a super cycle. So, it's out there.
It's possible. In this world, we play possibilities, probabilities, likelihoods, and odds, right? So I would not say it's likely. I would definitely say it's possible. I want to clarify that.
Okay, awesome. Your passion is showing. Tell me about your YouTube channel, because that's another thing on your journey. When did you start your YouTube channel? It's doing amazingly well. I absolutely love it.
You. So Piper Academy was started in October of 2023. We just hit the 1-year mark a couple months ago. It's December now, right? Yeah, a couple months ago. So it was. It started off as a hobby. I want to educate people. I have a skill set. I know how to speak to people. I can break things down, as we call it in the Army, break it down Barney style, right? Make it as simple as possible. And so I wanted to create a channel to educate people on how to read economic reports, data reports, how to read charts, how to do technical analysis, how to understand the analytical process, because it's a cycle. When new information presents itself, you have to add it back in and restart your analytical process, right? It's a living, breathing cycle that takes place. So I wanted to teach people this type of stuff. I wanted people to understand, because our education system doesn't teach people any of the stuff that they really need to know for the real world. I don't need to know where to find X. I need to know what the SOM indicator, or the 2 to 10 year treasury yield, inverse treasury yield. What does this mean to me, right? It's going to do much more for me and my family's future than anything else. So I wanted to teach people, and I started Piper Academy. It was supposed to be Army Piper Academy. Over time, I started getting in contact with people that are like, I really liked your stuff. I'd love to do a collab with you. And then started to realize that not everybody took off as fast as we did. We were monetized within 60 days. Mind you, I had exposure in the Chart Prime community because I had done so much stuff over there with them on my internship that a lot of their subscribers and viewers, they're about 100,000 subscribers now. A lot of them came over and stuff too. Not a lot, but a lot of them. I got monetized fairly quickly, but I started to realize it's not that easy for a lot of the content creators that are good content creators. They just can't break the algo. So started bringing on other people onto the show with me. OC guy, I knew him from Chart Prime, gave me a little bit of banter back and forth. We had good chemistry there. Tradefly hit me up on X. He DM'd me on X, and he's like, "Hey, I'm a veteran also. I like your content. I want to do some stuff." And then he tried to get some live streams going. I was like, maybe you shouldn't be doing, worrying about your channel and trying to grow it while you're working a full-time job. Maybe you're supposed to be here at the academy. And so the concept just broke of what it was originally and became this home for content creators to focus and push into that algo with numbers, right? No one of us is strong as all of us together. And so the vision became a thing. And it's just, I'm humbled that the people that have wanted to team up with me have. It's a co-op of profit share so everything that the channel brings in, I share out with the team. We got 5 shows daily, Monday through Thursday, and then a couple of shows on Friday, a show on Sunday night, just Asian market. So we start out in the morning with BC Port Corp. He does Good Morning Crypto. It is a pre-market show. I do the morning market report with OC Guy, where we break down the market open, the economic data, the fundamentals, talk about some news articles you need to know about, look at some charts, and hang out with the community. We do an afternoon show called Trade Academy with Trade Intuition, where he talks about basic technical analysis and teaches and shows some trade setups, how he would look at a chart, and teaches that. So it's Trade Academy. And then the evening time, we have Crypto Nightcap with Tradefly and FD White Invests. And then we wrap it out at the end of the night at the Markets After Dark with Lunar Beaches Crypto. And he's the one that does the Sunday show because he's does his show during the Asian market open. So we even addressed like the Asian market, US market, and there's a lot of money to be made of those. So honored and humbled that all these people wanted to come hang out with this old crusty grumpy veteran here, and do something great, bigger than us, and that's what we're doing. It's a Piper Academy, and I'm honored that that the people that tune in every day and people want to come sit and do content on this channel that's not theirs. So it's humbling. It's humbling. So not what I envisioned at all in the first place. So
okay, awesome. So how do you actually stay informed with all the different markets, all the different news and the events that are going on? I mean, you seem so busy as well.
I get a lot of alerts. I set a lot of Google alerts because I understand keywords like, things on like Federal Reserve, things on like data, economic employment data, right? Jobs reports, non-farm payroll. I have all those keywords saved in Google searches. And so when news articles come out on that, Google News pushes those to me. So I get those alerts all the time. I have a lot of alerts set up on my iPad, my iPhone, my computer, like everything's connected. CNBC Pro, I have subscriptions to that. I have subscriptions to the Kabisi letters, the Rect Capitals, all the newsletters. And then I share a lot of that information inside of my Discord community also, to keep those guys informed, because I get a lot of alerts. I have alerts all day long, but I am retired at the end of the day. So my wife, my kids are grown, they're adults. My dog, my wife, and data reports, news alerts. That's what gets all of my time now. So
And how does your wife feel about crypto now? She must know a lot.
So she has a lot of faith in me. To put it in, most people don't understand when I tell them that I made it to E8 in the Army. Like E9 is the highest you can go. That's Sergeant Major. That's enlisted, right? Without going officer side. I went from E1 to E8 in 12 years, which is unheard of. I'm a very good analyst. I've got evaluations to prove it. So she knows that I on the analytical side, I'm very good at what I do. So when I told her that I had done all my research on all this stuff and that I thought this was very much like palladium in 2008, I had identified palladium when palladium, it's a precious metal. If you guys don't know, they use it in filtration. It's in air filtration, water filtration. It has a very interesting characteristic that it bonds with carbon, so it strips a lot of the bad stuff out of the air. Palladium was under $100. Under $200 when I first identified it, and today palladium, I don't even know what it's at now. I sold off a long time ago. It hit around $2,000 though, and it was so she's seen me spot these things. And when I told her that I thought that crypto was potentially my palladium moment again, and then I told her what it was, sent her stuff on it. I had to obviously show her. She allowed me to start investing. Just let me start trading. I had to do some paper trading with a $10,000 demo account and 10x it. Once she said, if you can turn 10,000 into 100,000, I'll give you free run on cash. So she let me do it, and so she's very happy with crypto now. She tells people all the time, you should watch my husband's channel. She's got friends of hers that I told back when Bitcoin was $25,000 that this is your time to pick up Bitcoin. 300% later, they still haven't. You know how it is, right? So no, she believes in crypto. She said, just don't lose my money. That's what she said. She actually went and did a civilian job, GS-13 federal civilian job for about 18 months that paid six figures just to give extra money for this cycle run because she believed in what crypto was going to do. So she believes in me and she knows I'm not going to do it wrong. So
That's so, so sweet. I love her. So if you could go back to when you started crypto, what advice would you have given yourself?
Hold your Doge, because my first purchase would have been like $4.4 million last cycle. But no, that one, that's what I would have told myself. Don't underestimate meme coins. Don't overestimate what a YouTuber tells you. And at the end of the day, if you find something to be true in your heart, that Bitcoin is fintech and fintech is the future of financial institutions, hold true to your beliefs. It's going to play out for you in the long run.
Also, just before we go, can you explain to us, can you put up that photo again of you in the army? How did you get your name Army Piper?
So Army Piper, that comes from I was an intel analyst in the military, 22 and a half years, all true statement. But there was a period of time there that I was assigned to a base that had bagpipers. Thank you to the Brits. The British Air Missile Defense Command came over to the United States, to the Air Missile Defense Command here in the United States, U.S. Army, and they brought their bagpipers with them. And so the general of the U.S. Side said, "I want bagpipers. That's cool." And of course, when a general says he wants something, it happens. So they had a special duty assignment for bagpipers that I tried out for. Now, there you go. That's me in a kilt playing the bagpipes at a Mardi Gras parade. I did that for about 2.5 years. And that's where the name Army Piper came from. It was started in my social media. When I started out in the crypto space, I just used the social media that I already had. I had no clue that I was going to become a brand in crypto, and that Army Piper was stuck with me forever. But here I am. It's okay. I like the name. That's the history of it. Army Piper, right there. So I did some other cool jobs, though. You know, it's not all bagpipes. I was a master weapons instructor with NATO, and I worked with the British military over in Afghanistan doing that, and then did some combat patrols and some time sensitive targeting. So there's all pictures of me from my military days. But now this is my world. Bunch of charts and people that need help that I'm always here to and more than happy to help. So
That's brilliant. It was absolutely lovely speaking to you, Army Piper, and learning about your story. I'm going to put all your links down below, and I really hope people do go out and check out your channel because it brings a lot of value. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us.
thank you. I appreciate you, and we need to get together. We need to have you on our show. I'd love to have you on as a guest sometime. So let's stay in touch and let's make that happen.
Awesome. That's brilliant.